us all together. Lord, we gather in your name as children of a sovereign God. Forever we proclaim, to God be all glory.
Well, good morning. How you doing? It is Wednesday, January the 7th, 2026. Welcome to episode 557 of The Thinking Theologian as we continue our journey through the scripture. So today we read Job chapter 14 through 16. The title of today is Biblical Consolation and Relief. The focal scripture is in Job 16 verse 5, and this is what it says. It says, "Instead, I would encourage you with my mouth, and the consolation from my lips would bring relief." And so, have you ever had a bad experience with a person, but they believe they had good intentions? Several times in my life, this has happened, especially when I was going through a serious life event. The person was trying to be helpful, but instead of giving comfort, they caused more stress or tried to blame me for the circumstances I was facing. I know they were doing their best, but I think people miss how much damage they can cause with a poor choice of words or a terrible attitude. And in today's reading, Job tells his friends just how irritated he is by their consolation. His friends are blaming the sufferer instead of walking alongside him with love and compassion. Job just experienced complete financial loss. He just experienced the death of all of his children. He is suffering physically and he is mentally exhausted. In a raw moment like that, his friends just needed to be present. And they missed the mark. And they completely missed the mark. And I think a lot of people do this. And I don't think, I would say the majority of people don't realize they're doing it because they're trying to be helpful, but they don't understand that they're not coming to a biblical way of consolation and relief. They're just trying to say words because they don't know what to say instead of understanding that the ministry of presence is often more important. And so how do you encourage people who are suffering? That's the challenge I have for you. Are you one who asks a bunch of questions and tries to imply that what they are going through is based on their own decisions? I know people all the time, they will say they deserve what they got. They deserve this. They deserve that. And part of that might be true. But when someone's going through bad things and they're experiencing a lot of pain and suffering, they don't need to hear that in the moment. They need to know that they're not alone. They know they're cared for and loved for in the midst of their pain and their suffering. And in a minute, I'll kind of go to how to handle that. And so are you the person that kind of does that? Are you that kind of attitude? And you'll know, because do people like talking to you about things or do they not? Biblically, we should invest in others when they are going through difficulties. True friendship and love means we don't cast blame in times of crisis. It does mean we build up their hope in the Lord. And so when someone's going through a time of crisis, you should be building their hope up in the Lord. You look at what Job says he would do. He's complaining about his friends. He said, "Instead, I would encourage you with my mouth." What they're saying with the mouth matters. And the consolation from my lips would bring relief. If what you have to say is not going to bring relief to somebody in their moment, especially at the raw part of it when it's beginning, there's a problem. Now, I want to be clear here that at some point, a difficult conversation may need to happen if decisions are causing pain. Like if you notice that there's a trend or things are going on and it needs to be discussed, obviously you need to have that conversation with somebody because it matters. But doing it at the very beginning and the onset is not appropriate. It is not loving. It is not caring. They're not really going to listen to you. And so you need to be very aware, have some emotional intelligence of how to deal with people when they're going through difficult circumstances. And so I would argue that, however, it rarely needs to happen after a traumatic event. Do you need to just go into somebody and be like, "Hey, it was your fault that happened"? That's not the way to do ministry. And so we should desire to be good friends who build a person up when life is falling apart around them. Our words should bring relief to others because we have the greatest hope anyone could need to survive. And so I truly believe that what we say in the midst of tragedy and circumstances, things that are going on, is a great indicator of how we understand Scripture, how we view God. Because if we view God as judgmental and hateful and mean, we're going to come across to people that way when we try to comfort them. If we view him as loving and kind in the midst of trouble and trials, that we know that because God said he would never leave us or forsake us. He would be with us. We know we can take this truth and apply it to our lives. And so our words should bring relief to others because we have the greatest hope anyone could need to survive. And I don't think we talk about that enough. So as you walk through life, be an encourager. Be an encourager to other people. Sometimes I'm really good at this. Sometimes I'm not. I try sometimes when I would say probably more than sometimes, that if I notice something in somebody, I try to compliment them. And even if it don't come across a compliment, at least point it out to them that it's noticed. So it may not come across as a compliment, but it may say, hey, I've seen this in you. Because I'm usually not mushy and gushy about it, but I will like, hey, I see this in you. I've noticed this in you. I think people need to hear that because it really does matter and it builds them up. Because you never know what people are going through, and hearing those positive things makes a difference. Now, again, I'm not a big complimenter on just normal generic things. I need to see something and I don't normally compliment unless I notice something that needs to be complimented. And that's something I do need to work on also is looking for more opportunities to do that. And so as you walk through life, be an encourager. Build up the sufferer in their time of need. Be the friend you need when you have doubts, struggles, and questions. Too often, believers shoot their own wounded, and let that not be said of me and you. We don't need to be the type of person who shoots the wounded, especially as believers. That is inappropriate and wrong and sends a horrible message, because why would anybody want to join the family of God if the people who are in the family are going to beat each other up and not be very nice and kind to one another? And so, be an encourager, have biblical consolation and biblical relief, because it really does matter. So tomorrow we will be in Job chapter 17 to 20. Have a good day.